Okay, welcome to an introduction to your English Literature A2 coursework. This coursework is worth 40% of your overall grade at A2, and you will complete two coursework pieces. They're weighted equally. Piece 1 is a comparative text, and we'll look at that in another tutorial. The piece we're going to look at in this tutorial is the application of critical ideas to a text of your choice. And you do apply the readings of a critical anthology, including Marxist and Feminist perspectives, to one literary text. So we're going to think a little bit about some critical thinking. What then is a critical reading of a text? Well, as you can see from these bullet points, it's basically applying a critical response other than your own to a text. So rather than your own personal gut instinct and independent reading, you're actually thinking of a particular perspective. So rather than generalised, this person may believe this, an alternative viewpoint is, you're looking at it from a distinct critical viewpoint. We're going to start off by a brief overview of Marxist thinking, and which was really kind of brought about by Karl Marx, a political thinker who really pioneered this idea of society should exist without classes, without the structure of working, middle, upper classes. He believed that communism, so potentially you could research some of the key features of communism, would replace capitalism, that there would be redistribution of wealth, and that we would all be equal. So yeah, you can have a look at a little bit of the ideologies of communism and capitalism and see what your take is on that. Now, Marxist thinking, as and when we apply it to literary texts, can be summarised as the things that are on the screen at the moment. We're not free and independent. Choice is an illusion. And we suffer alienation because of this gap between potential and reality. So you could do a little bit more research on that, and there are some websites that I will try and give you at the end of this session, so you can do a bit more on that. Anyway, possible coursework focuses for you here on the screen. So think about literary texts you are familiar with, that you like, that you enjoy. Think about, do any of these themes ultimately appear in them? And consider how you could apply some of these Marxist ideas to that text. A good example would be of Mice and Men. If you have a look at, for example, chapter 4, where you've got Crooks, you've got Lenny, you've got Candy and Curly's wife. All of these are alienated and lonely characters brought together in this chapter. And a Marxist perspective would really think about disability, about race, about the fact that these are marginalised and sidelined characters. It's the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about. So, let's have a quick think then. Alienation probably is one of the key elements of Marxist thinking, and if you're going to tackle this as part of your coursework, it's probably important to think about, what does alienation really mean? These are some of the key elements of that. So you could see it covers a multiple kind of amount of different aspects, doesn't it? From problematic relationships to physical isolation, so characters who are geographically remote and removed from others. Consider how you could apply some of these ideas to one of the texts you've studied. It could be helpful for you to start off by thinking of alienated literary characters that you know of. So last year we obviously looked, didn't we, at Gatsby in The Great Gatsby. Going back to your GCSE studies, Think about Simon, how he was alienated in Lord of the Flies, or if you studied Of Mice and Men, Lenny. Consider what it is that alienated these characters. Was it something that was self-perpetuated, or was it something that was imposed upon them? And consider, from what you know of Marxist thinking, what a Marxist critical response would sort of think about that. Okay, moving on to focus a little on feminist thinking. Now, feminism is one of these topics which sort of provokes strong feelings. I think it's important to get past stereotypical interpretations of what is a feminist, with some of those first bullet points highlighting, popular misconceptions, is often the case, to really get to the bottom of what feminist thinking is, which is beyond stereotypical media images, and is really what feminists, think in a political sense as well. It's really up to you to research and to find out more about the feminist movement if you're thinking about this as a coursework topic. Plenty of stuff out there, and again, I can easily give you some website addresses. But, Wikipedia, good place to start. A summary of feminist thinking here, and some of the key points here in, say, this first bullet point, literature reflecting and constructing society. A feminist approach to a literary text would say that a novel or a text is not just a reflection of what's going on, but really helps to build society. So, we think about traditional Disney films and, and childhood stories of a white knight on a fiery steed rescuing a feeble princess. How much of that is a reflection, and how much of that is kind of socialising and influencing the way that society is views gender roles? Some interesting, thinking about the stereotypical representations of women in literary texts, that positive constructions are when women are cute and helpless and selfish and kind and sweet, and negative constructions are independent, seductive, powerful women. So some things to think about there. If you're thinking about coursework ideas and interested in this topic, there are some ideas there on the screen. One thing that you could do that we've looked at in class previously, The World's Wife is a good starting point if you want to try and apply some feminist readings and critical responses. Have a look at the selection of poems by Carol Ann Duffy, considering some of these questions. Another, classic text, Pride and Prejudice. Have a think about the way that Austen either challenges or supports feminist views about the construction of gender in society. Okay, preparing for your coursework. It's about selecting a text you enjoy. Some tips there for forming your questions. And finally, just a few example tasks here to just give you a feel for the way in which you should be forming. Look at the to what extent that really opens up the potential for evaluation here. Key AO. Okay, thanks for listening.